Can you imagine standing before thousands and thousands of people at a sold-out stadium preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ? Well, this is the life of Billy Graham for many years. Billy Graham would travel over the whole world preaching this gospel. Translators would translate this into their own language, because Billy would actually go over to many different countries where thousands of people would actually rush in to hear his message. Just about every single one of Billy's venues would be standing room only. Many people who could not go into his venue would actually sit outside and put their ear up to the stadium just to hear Billy Graham speak. Billy Graham, seeing these people outside, would actually come outside after a 2-hour service and actually give them a message of their own. But how exactly did Billy Graham get to this platform where thousands of people would come hear him? In an interview, Grant Walker, a professor at Duke University School, stated, "I would say that what was very important, especially with the evangelical world, is that his personal life modeled what he preached. And whether or not Americans maintained those standards in their personal lives, they admired Graham for doing so." So Billy Graham is considered to be one of the greatest evangelical leaders in the world. Today we will examine the life and legacy of Billy Graham, starting from his childhood to what he has become today. Billy Graham's childhood was built on the farm with strict parents. He was born November 7th, 1918, 4 days before the end of World War I. He was the first of 4 children, and living on the farm was all that he knew. His family owned a dairy farm, but Billy never cared much for the farm business. He was an average student, and he made average grades. His parents were strict Calvinists and took Billy to their Presbyterian church every Sunday. Billy had no choice. He had to go. Billy's mother prayed every single night before Billy went to bed that something or somehow God would do something great in Billy's life. Even though Billy's parents were strict, his escape one night changed his life forever. Mordecai Ham, a traveling evangelist, was having a tent revival in Charlotte, North Carolina. Billy thought that tent revivals was a religious circus, but was invited by his good friend Albert McMakin to attend this revival preached by Mordecai. Mordecai preached a sermon on sin and rebellion, and when the invitation was given for people to come forward, Billy went forward. When Billy went forward, he gave his life to Jesus, and that changed his life forever. After this life change, Billy went on to do great things. Billy attended Florida Bible College and graduated with a BA in theology. Billy then went on to Wheaton College, where he graduated with a master's in cultural anthropology, and he also met his wife Ruth there. Billy went on to pastor a small Baptist church and became involved in a ministry called Youth for Christ, where they deal with youth and people who have come out of prison. Billy was invited to preach at an LA revival, and so he went on the radio to kind of promote this revival. And so many people heard about this revival till Billy extended his revival for 5 weeks because of the amount of people that actually come to hear him. This launched Billy into his superstardom, and he went on to preach messages all around the world and founded the Billy Graham Evangelical Association. His messages are heard still today on television. So today I've informed you of the life and legacy of Billy Graham from his childhood to the man he has become today. We see how Billy's childhood wasn't so luxurious, with his strict parents and his life on the farm. We have seen how the invitation of a friend at a tent revival changed Billy's life forever. We've understood how a man devoting to doing the work of God enabled him to reach thousands of people all over this country and the world. Truly, Billy is considered one of the greatest evangelists in that era. Billy Graham often used convincing lines in his sermon to connect with his audience. If we were to attend one of Billy's sermons today, Terry Whalen, in his book of Billy Graham, states he'd say, "A real Christian is the one who can give his pet parrot to the town gossip." Grant Wacker, in his book Billy Graham, a model for Americans who want to be, states that Billy said, "Take one day at a time. Today, after all, is tomorrow you worried about yesterday." In Billy Graham's personal biography, he was asked by a reporter after a revival one day on why he allows so many different nationalities and people into his revivals. And Billy responded, "It is the Holy Spirit's job to convict, God's job to judge, and my job to love." If a simple farm boy could reach thousands of people for Christ, imagine what God could do with our lives when we step up and do what he has called us to.